Nope, it is that time. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Awesome sauce. Oh no, I'm. It's one of those things I like. You know, my voice projects anyways. Yeah, I know. That's what makes me feel. I'm trying to keep as much distance between my face hole and this thing as possible because it'll echo. Just because of the sheer like output of my voice. So we're gonna. Demetrius, you want to say? Yeah. Did it die? Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to start a new series. It's righteous resilience. We have a lot of baptisms going on. We have the church is growing, and that's amazing. I'm super excited. Everything that's going on. Every other week we have someone accepting the gospel through baptism, and we have. Well, the problem is when I first became a Christian, I had it was all of a sudden, I need a Bible. Bam, there's a Bible. And it was like, from God, here it is. Here you go. Everything that I needed was being provided for me because I had this support structure. I was still a new Christian. Well, the problem came when the first storm hit. I was all by myself. And what did I need to do? And that's when Byron Hatcher, one of my good friends back in North Carolina, he looked at me and goes, "You need to build resilience." And I was like, "What is that?" So we're going to go through a six lessons, 6-week thing about resiliency and righteous resiliency. Sorry. See, even my cough is loud. So I'm going to try and keep the volume down. So it'll be between me, Demetrius, and Caleb, and we'll all be like picking a topic. But the fun thing about resiliency is you never know when the storm's going to hit. You never know which direction it's going to come from. But it's that ability to bounce back and that ability to go, okay, to really focus and not spiral out of control or kind of get overwhelmed and take off, or be really centered in Christ. So my first lesson, well, first, if you guys could please bow with me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to be here together to glean from your word, allowing us to take these words and stitch them in our hearts, allowing it to build us up and allowing us to grow from it. Please provide us with the opportunity to take these words and these lessons and these things that we glean from and pass it on to someone else. Please allow us to strengthen us, guide us, mentor us, and develop us into stronger Christians, and allowing us the opportunity and to identify both those things that could be stumbling blocks before us and those things that allow us to climb to greater heights and allow us to grow within your body and allowing your body to grow. We do these things in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen. So the first lesson is the reach, right? So solving that sinking feeling. So when we have it's going to be on Matthew 14, chapters 22 through 33, when Peter steps out of the boat. So Jesus tells his disciples, go out in a boat. I'm going to go pray. Okay, well, if you've ever been to the Sea of Galilee, it is not, it's a encased lake, but massive. And because of the temperature changes in the water and the atmosphere, because it's still in the Middle East, it's still warm, it's still whatever, those temperature changes causes quite a bit of storms, quite a bit of waves, all those things that make the Sea of Galilee very, it's treacherous. It's not the best waters that you want to be on, but it's very, alive. So if you could please turn with me to Matthew 14:22, and we'll read through to 33, just so that way everybody kind of, if you're not familiar with it, we kind of get to that. So Matthew 14:22 starts, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up onto the mountain by himself to pray. We're talking about Jesus here. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat, by this time, was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost." And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them and saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the waters." And he said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." So we have this situation where they're out on the boat. They're scared that, it's not natural to see somebody walking on water. It's not, especially when you have traveled so far away from the shore. They're not only being pushed by the waves, they're being pushed by the wind itself. And you don't feel comfortable. If I looked out onto a boat and saw somebody walking on water, it's going to freak me out, because that's not natural. This is not natural. We have this, but Jesus is displaying to them like how to build this confidence in what he's instructing them. So resilience begins with obedience. Would they have ever ran into the situation that they were in if they didn't get in the boat? If they just say, "No, Lord, I'm going to stay with you and pray. You know what? I don't feel like going on the boat. The waters are treacherous. The wind is coming. I don't want to do it." Jesus sent them and told them to go get on the boat. We don't need to confuse hardship with abandonment. God may place us in challenging situations to allow us to grow. Be it, separation from my family, be it financial hardships, be it, me not getting orders on time, or life moves on. These hardships don't come because, what was it? We were building a table just yesterday. We're building a table. So I'm having Vinson, I'm going through these portions showing him how to measure the wood, how to get everything together, measure twice, cut once, the same thing my grandpa told me to do. Is it hard to follow instructions? Sometimes it seems yes. Yes, it is. But those hardships, he will now, from this point on, the same way I did, take those portions and be like, this is the way I do it. Why? Because it works. Because I've been through that hardship. I've carried the wood. I've cut the wood. I've put it all together. He was asking me to use the drill and all these other things. So that was work. He was like, Dad, I'm tired. That's awesome. God doesn't put us in these situations to hurt us, but to allow us to grow. I have very thick calluses on my hands because I worked all of my life. I've used my hands. That's what I go back to. Those calluses protect me from, minor cuts and abrasions that I deal with in my life. But they only got there from the hardships that I've went through. Sometimes storms come not because we are disobedient, but because we are following God's direction. He put you there for a reason. Now let's see how you react. Resilience requires courage in the unknown. In 25 through 27, he is putting them in the boat. They have cast out. It took the courage to leave Jesus while he took care of what he needed to take care of, and they got in the boat and went off into a different direction. Are they helpless in the boat? No.
They shouldn't be, they're fishermen.
Exactly. This isn't the first time they've went in the boat. This isn't, they have made their living on the water. They are not helpless. This is a situation that they have came across once or twice before. But now the only difference is I have grown accustomed to having the answer right there. Going back to my son. Vinson wanted a 55-pound heavy bag. I have a lawnmower and a weed whacker I don't use, and they've been sitting in the backyard forever. I gave them to him. I was like, here you go, man. If you fix it, you can get more money out of it. If not, you can get it for whatever, or you could fix it, repair it, and you could start your own business with a weed whacker and a lawnmower. So I gave him what he needed to do to get the task that he wanted accomplished. How he wanted to get it done, yeah, good luck, buddy. But this was the fun thing. I'm a mechanic. A lot of things, but a mechanic by trade. That's my go-to. You're not allowed to use me to find out what's wrong with the weed whacker and the lawnmower. You have to find out the answer yourself. Oh no. I have grown accustomed to having the answer. Dad knows it. I have grown accustomed to going directly. This is the shortcut. What do you mean I need to use critical thinking skills? I have, in this situation, they've been put on the boat. They're now away from the direct line answer. But has Jesus instilled in them the spirit of how to get those answers? Peter didn't come to that conclusion if it's you, Lord, it's a ghost. Nope, it's me. Okay, cool, I got a little bit more information. Okay, now, and then they start building the story. The disciples saw Jesus walking on the water and they were terrified. Fear is natural when facing the unknown. Jesus' word, take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. We have, what was it? Your amygdala, right? Your lizard brain, the little part of the bottom of your brain, controls like your automatic responses. You guys know what there were 4 of them. Do you guys know what they are? We got, what was it?
Fight, flight, freeze.
Fawn. Like, I'll do whatever it is you tell me to. That's a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Like, I will be completely complicit. Those are your automatic responses, and those are always natural. It's when the bottom part of your brain takes over, your cerebellum is no longer working. Those are the ones that say, "Hey, this is automatic. I have to get out of here, get to a safe place. Like, maybe they won't see me, or I'll do whatever it is that you tell me to. Just don't, I'm in fear. Get the fear away." So Jesus says, take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. Resiliency means moving forward even when fear is loud. Courage is not the absence of fear, but trusting Christ in its presence. I'm airborne, so jumped out of airplanes for a really long time. My parachute was packed by an 18 to 21-year-old. It went through a process, but an 18 to 21-year-old packed what I'm putting my life's thing. And when I jumped out of the aircraft, I don't pull a cord. The plane pulls the cord for me, and I'm putting my life in the hands of an 18 to 21-year-old. My son, my daughter. Okay, it's fine. Let's go. It's not the point. Yes, I had fear when I jumped out of the aircraft, but I had the courage to say, okay, cool, everything's going to be okay. And dedicating myself to the door to get a proper exit. But making sure those portions are good, it's moving forward is the most important part. Not stopping, not letting go. That's what truly shows that courage. Now, Peter. I love Peter. Peter's awesome. When he says, it's I, Peter says, I'm going to add an extra step. I'm going to go an extra mile. If it's really you, tell me to come out there, and I'll do it. So when we were all in that, when we're all in that freeze, flight, fight, fawn mentality, Peter's like, I'm going to go a step further. Be it. What is it? The number one fear in the United States at this point is public speaking. Ta-da. It's just one of those things, like we have the ability, like I could sit, it's, okay, what's next? What's my next? What's the next step? What else can I do? I've got it. I'm afraid. Let's move forward. Peter goes, I'm willing to risk failure by stepping out of this boat, and because somebody said they were Jesus. It's I. Come out. True resilience involves taking risks, trying again, and refusing to stay stuck. Growth comes when we leave the comfort zone, when we cannot walk. We cannot walk on water while clinging to the boat. You don't learn how to swim if you hold on to the edge. My Shelby, she swims good now. But that was the biggest thing. I have to stay close to the edge because I can't touch the bottom. I have to stay close to the edge. Well, if you've got to let go to practice swimming. You've got to let go of those things that comfort zone. I won't ever know my parachute deploys if I don't exit the aircraft. I won't know if the person next to me on the bus is a Christian if I don't ask. I won't know if there's a need in the family in the pew next to me if I don't develop a relationship. I won't know, but it's so hard, and that fear grips us. But it's that courage to go, what's the worst thing that can happen? In our lives, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? The worst thing that could happen is you die. There's the key. The worst thing that can happen is the best thing that could happen. I'm going to heaven. Know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the worst thing that this world can do is take my life. But you literally catapult it into someone that's going to take care of me forever. So what other things do I have to fear?
When I was 25 years old, I still didn't know how to swim, right? So I'm thinking to myself, how can a guy that can't use his legs swim in the water, okay? But my parents had a family friend. She was a lifeguard. She said, okay, Troy, today's the day. She just picked me up, threw me in the deep end, right? And that's the best thing she could ever did, because I'm a fish. I love to swim in the water. So I thank God for God and that person for throwing me in there, because they knew I could do it. It was just a matter of I didn't know I could do it myself. So facing that fear was one of the best things, that they could ever do for me. So it's just a matter of stepping out there and, letting people do it. They knew that, I could swim. It's just a matter of getting out there in the deep end and doing it. It's amazing what you can do when there's a fear of drowning. So just food for thought.
How much does God know about us? Everything. With the creator of everything, and he knows your true potential, is he going to allow you to be in a situation that you can't handle? You may not see it. You may not see the potential. You may not see that this is I call them 3-foot wall problems. I really do. I'm a manager at White Sands, and my employees, they'll come out and they'll go, this is a problem that we need solved, and it's a showstopper. This is it. This is end all be all. Operation stop. It's like, wait, do this. All right, and then it'll fix it. You could have solved that problem yourself. You have all the tools, you have all the things, but they had stopped. They had froze. They were no longer, they were in that fight or flight mentality. They didn't have, well, what do I do? Christ empowers us through eliminating those fears. Because the worst thing could happen is literally the best thing that could happen. Oh, but it's going to hurt. Vinson, if you haven't seen him, he 3 years ago, he was this tall. He shot up over a very short amount of time. He would come to us crying, my legs hurt, my back hurts, my arms hurt, everything hurts, and I don't know why. It's growth. Growing pains. We call them that. You don't get stronger. You don't get, I know I don't look like it anymore, but I used to go to the gym all the time. I've been retired for a year, so. But you don't go to the gym to get growth and strong. There's a pain period after that where your muscles hurt. But they're getting stronger as you grow. We have to go through that pain in order for us to get stronger. But if I don't know that I have the potential to push myself, God knows. And he's going to give you that opportunity to step outside the boat. But we have to take the opportunity to let go. Yes.
Caveat that a little bit.
Yeah.
By saying, I just caveat that statement, which I think you mean this, but to say, yes, God's not going to put you in any situation you can't handle without him.
Right.
He's absolutely going to put you in situations you can't handle by yourself.
Trust plays a part in this too, because Peter looked out and he said, and identified, Jesus identified himself, and Peter trusted that he would allow him to get out of that boat. And that's where we have to put our trust. Like he trusted the people who packed your parachute. You trust.
A little bit. That's a little bit. Resiliency requires focus. When Peter kept his eyes on Jesus, he walked. When he focused on the wind and the waves, he sank. The distraction of fear and doubt, the circumstances that he was, eroded that resilience. Resiliency is keeping our eyes fixed on Christ rather than the chaos going on around us. So we have this situation where, now, is it natural for Peter to sink? I don't know. It's natural for him to sink. It's natural for him to, if I got in the water, Troy, right? The first thing you do is you hit the ground, and I'm gonna go down to a certain point. I'm not walking anymore. Jesus allowed him to do something that was supernatural, something that was outside the natural ability of Peter's, or what Peter thought he could do. Strengthened by his focus on Christ. Strengthened by him keeping his eyes on the goal instead of the distractions on what's going on around us. It should embolden us and it should empower us to go, I know you're struggling. How can I help? Number 2, for one of those fears that we were talking about, right? Number 1 is, public speaking. On down that list is rejection. The fear of rejection. I don't need you. But like I said, that fear of having the opportunity, if I ask them, they're going to think I'm weird. If I ask someone to come to church with me, or if I ask somebody what's going on or how can I help, it goes into twofold. But if I ask them for if they need anything, now I'm on the hook. Do I have the capability to help them? Or are they going to reject me? Because I came with an open heart. I opened myself up. All of those other things, you're overthinking it. And you shouldn't be. Those are those opportunities. Have you guys seen gymnastics? When you do the where they're What is it? Yeah, we got iron crosses. What's the thing where the guy has the two, what'd you say? Pommel horse? Yeah, that's it, the pommel horse. If I come to it to the side, it looks like an obstacle, which normally it is. But I've also seen people do some awesome things on those. And what is an obstacle for me is an opportunity for somebody else. Because with training and development and all the other stuff, not me, I'm not that coordinated, but that gives that person the ability to go, look at what I can do. Look at what I've practiced and what I can train, what I've done. I look at it like, man, this is going to be hard to get over. Do I go over it or under it? Because, it's normally a platform. But that's an obstacle for me. For somebody else, that's an opportunity. And we need to be able to recognize those differences. Coming up to somebody and asking somebody to build that, to get that togetherness, to create the relationship, to ask to do evangelism, to get the opportunities to help someone. All of these things we wrap up. Those are opportunities to step outside the boat. But we cling to the fears of rejection. We cling to the fears of denial. We cling to the fears of failure. If I let this person down, what's that say? Resiliency learns from failure. Peter sank. Jesus said, "Oh, ye of little faith." Did he make it back? Did he drown? No. He reached out. I need help. Twofold, right? We have the opportunity. Now, this is the resiliency side on the other side. It's not always about the person asking. There's this concept of, I'm fine. No. I'm fine. I'm fine. Fine is, but really, are you? Failure is not final when Jesus is near. Each failure is a lesson in faith and perseverance. Resilient people don't quit when they stumble. They reach out for Christ's hand to get back up. Now, what can that look like, though? Reaching out to Christ. What does that look like? Yes, exactly. It's reaching out to other people. Or maybe it's prayer, but opening up, and I need help. If you guys haven't heard this is my mentality, right? Because I don't have I have my local family, but you guys are my forever family. The church is my forever family. I'm going to deal with you guys forever. It's true. David said it, right? So if someone passes away, they can't come to me, but I can go to them. And that's the goal, right? I get to go to them. So that's my forever family. Many of my family members, I grew up Southern Baptist. It was one of those things. So many of my family, there's grace. I got it. It's one of those things. Whatever. But I hope, George, I know you're going to be there. You're my forever family, man. Caleb, you're going to be there. Hopefully I'm there before you are, but it's one of those things. It's a race. No, I'm just messing with you. But you guys are my forever family. I should be able to ask you for help, the same way I would call my brother and sister, I'm going to call, or my mom or dad, I'm going to call my brother and sister in Christ. Because I have to deal with you forever. I know, it's one of those things. Like Troy, if I need help, I'm going to call Troy. If I need help, I'm going to call AJ. I'm going to reach out to those people that are closest to me. You guys are a part of my heart. But that's reaching to Christ. Christ dwells in you. Me reaching to you is reaching to Christ.
It's just, we were talking to the boys about this last night because we've been reading through James with them since the older two left. And we were talking about how God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. And you have to be humble to ask for help, right? All those things of not wanting to step out of the boat, holding on to your fear, not wanting to get up in front of people, of the fear of rejection, that's all pride in different forms, or being shown in different forms. And that's really what it comes down to, is are you too proud to risk embarrassing yourself? Are you too proud to reach out for help or to help someone? Or are you going to be humble and ask for help, or give that help, or risk your possible embarrassment?
In what condition were you in when Jesus died for you? I know what condition I was in. I could go through the sins in the book and be like, murderer, adulterer, fornicator, like all of those sins. I could go through and like, okay, check. It was like I was checking off the block to see how bad I could. But Jesus died for me in that condition. And as long as I keep, don't forget where you came from. There's no high and mighty here. I've seen it. I've been at the bottom, so I know. And he accepted me like that. He said, I'll die for you. I'll die for, I picture it like in one of those things. I like the labyrinth. It's one of like there's this swamp of the most disgusting smell and all this, and if you get it on you, it'll stay on you forever. You'll stink forever, and no one wants to be with you. And you'll just, I was that tar covered, stinky, nasty, just grossness, and he died for me without, like, luckily, my wife and a bunch of other people, they worked, and they said, you know what, there's someone died for you that can fix all this. Am I still that person? Yes, I am. Still all of those bad stuff, but Jesus, he died for me. So being that, like, humbleness is important. Stepping out of the boat is important. I build up these walls that help me go, okay, cool, this is where it is. When the storm comes, when the storm ceased, the disciples worship, truly you are the Son of God. The storm and Peter's failure became a testimony to God's power. Resiliency isn't just survival. It deepens our faith, strengthens our worship, and testifies how God is great. Where he pulled me out of versus where I am now shows the greatness of God, then strengthens my resolve in my worship, and gives me the empowerment to stand before adversity and go, you are my God. And I want you, and everybody else should want you too. And I want to be there to give them to you. I love practical takeaways. It's like the homework, at the end where you're like, hey, okay, cool, we went through it all. So now how do I build on this? Cool, Vincent, we went through this lesson about resiliency. We went through this portion, but how do I use it, man? How do I use it now in the difference? So we need to obey God's direction even when it leads into storms. Choose courage over fear by trusting his presence. Step out of our comfort zone and grow our faith. Keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, not on the storm. Do not let failure define you. I'm going to build that even further. Don't be afraid of failure. I know not in this situation, but when Peter went under the water, he still saw this, like he still walked. He went further than any of the other people did. It would be another short verse, and Peter died. Instead of Jesus wept, Peter died. But he didn't. Keep fixed on Jesus, not the storm. Don't let failures define you, and turn trials into testimonies that glorify God. Resiliency isn't about never sinking. It's about knowing who will lift you up when you're down. Like Peter, we falter, but Christ's hand is always there. True resiliency is built not in our own strength, but in keeping our eyes on him. Now, what does that look like? I can recall. So can you guys think of a situation where you faced the storm and how you grew out of it? Remember, I'm 39, so I've on. It's one of those things.
Hey, brother, I would say, listening to you talk, it reminded me of something I like to say all the time, that it's all learning, right? So the failure that you spoke of, there's a lesson in that. So being able to have that perspective and understanding that there's something for me in this failure, in this inability to be successful in whatever this is. Most importantly, what we're speaking of is the spiritual walk that we are on right now. Everything that we've been told about our God, about our Savior, is a concept until we put it into practice, to action. And that goes with our sister and yourself and others talking about humbling ourselves and trusting. The trust is what allows us to move in that understanding. And I don't want to make this a finality of what I'm saying, but we're limited in how much we can accomplish in relation to our trust. Not that it's easy. You talked about things that affect you personally, right? You had to trust that what someone is sharing with you, right, is truth, and that it's actually there for you to move in that. And it's no different for any of us in this room. But that trust, and going back to the resiliency, there's no resiliency in inaction. Something has to be done to be resilient. So I'll just leave it at that.
The best part is you're like, I'm hoping my forever family has taken the first step out of the boat. You trusted that the Bible was true, what you read in it was true, that God was who he said he was, and that, accepting the gospel and baptism would save you. All of those truths, you had to have faith in it. You had to go, okay, cool, this is, you stepped out of the boat. You recognized that you were in a problem. Like that was the first step. Now what? What boats of comfort? So you have a choice, right? I can step from one boat into another boat. I did my baptism. Got my life right with God. I'm going to heaven. One boat into another boat. I am now comfortable. That's it. What comfort or safety are tempting us to stay in to keep us from stepping out in our faith? What's tying us back? What's our lifeline? Because if in this story, if Jesus is out in the water, what's keeping us on the boat? Because remember, Peter was the only one that stepped out. What kept the other disciples from going, me too? And I mean, that's something for you guys. Like, it's one of those things where what is it? Shelby knows about cows. So, like, chew the cud, right? I'm gonna mull this over the rest of the week and be like, what keeps me in my comfort zone? What is preventing me from taking one more step? And, boats aren't, he was already there. They were all looking at the water, looking at Jesus there. It was just one step that he took. It was just one reach that he did to pull him out of the water. And we know that Jesus, he's not going to put us in that situation that we're going to fail, or we may fail, but he's there for us, or somebody's there for us. And there's enough people that you can reach out, and enough, to build that up. And then, what practical ways can we keep our focus on Jesus and not let those distractions or those fears, change it or pull us away? I have ADHD real bad, so it's one of those things. I have a bunch of tasks at the house that have not been done. I still have to build the bench for the table that I inset a TV into, and then there's a bunch of other tasks around the house that I'll get to it. I'll start something else, but that's one of those things. Last question, and the lesson is yours. So how can failure become a stepping stone towards stronger faith rather than a stumbling block? Like I was saying, that horse. What's keeping us from looking at an obstacle that should be an opportunity in a certain situation? So thank you guys so much, all your comments and everything, and I think it's about that time. So I think that clock is dead. So there it is. All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.